Hi, Vladimir. I'm very happy to have you here this time on the online platform. But last year we had a great pleasure to welcome you in Budapest live. It was so fantastic to have a champions talk with you and also to give out you the Goodwill Ambassador of Chess in Sport. You retired in 2019, and so more than a year passed, right? I'd like to ask you what has happened since then to you and what effect you had with the COVID, with the pandemics.
Oh, nothing very special have happened, but since March I'm already staying home and having lots of free time to spend with my family and to work on other things. So it's a very unusual year, very unusual time. I think well, none of us have experienced it in our lifetime yet, and so it's you feel strange. Yeah, I mean, you know, especially, you know, Judith, as a professional chess player, we are traveling a lot and spending so much time at home is kind of unusual, but it's also pleasant. I spend time with my kids and with my family, so I'm fine. So far, everything's fine.
How is the chess life online? We all know that chess is booming on the online competitions and for amateurs, exhibitions, tournaments, teaching, courses, etc. And of course, we had the pleasure to see you actually play online at the Legends of Chess event. What was your experience on that one?
I've played two tournaments. Yeah, one Blitz tournament in May, which we organized. The Russian Chess Federation was a charity event, and then this Chess Legends. You know, I think all of us, we already getting used slowly but surely to make things online. I'm also making some training sessions online. Some kind of meetings, recording certain things. So whether good or not, of course, it's always better to meet live with people, but it's possible to do many things. Now we all discover that many things are possible to be done online, and I'm very happy that unfortunately, I cannot come to your great festival in fantastic, beautiful Budapest this year, but I think we can still make it a very high quality event. You can make it even online. So, well, we have to, I'm afraid, have to start to get used to it in general and to try to explore this new territory of online life, so to say. I mean, at least as a substitute, I mean, necessary substitute from time to time to live events, which hopefully will start to appear again and come back fully in some short period of time.
Well, I believe that chess players, they are famous for the fact that we get used to, we acclimatize very easily to different situations in life and in the game also, of course, because we always have to be ready for surprises. Of course, nobody thought that it's going to be this lockdown what we had in the last months, and this pandemic caused huge damage to the world, and everybody has to adjust themselves. But I believe that chess players do quite a good job. There are a lot of streams, and even top players are making a lot of good stuff. And so what do you think how it will develop in the next few months? Is it going to be not replacing the physical tournaments, but let's say once it gets back to normal, the old normal, how much it will be staying the online events, how much it gives to the chess players, and how much does it give to the big audience of amateurs?
Well, you see, chess is a unique activity, sport, if you want, yeah. Which is actually available online. So you can play online, you can teach or study online. I mean, we have to use this, I mean, huge plus, yeah, in comparison with maybe other sports. and have a huge audience online. So then the question is, of course, if you are trying to organize some serious professional tournaments, has to be organized in a right way, but I'm sure and that it has a big potential. Yeah, so it would have been better if this would start maybe a few years ago, but now I think it's a necessity because we don't know how the world is going to go on with this virus. I mean, maybe there will be some more lockdowns, and to have it as an opportunity to play online is very important. And I think there is some work going on already in this direction, but yeah, it's clear that it's urgently needed to make some secure and possibilities to play some events, even professional events online, and amateur events also. So I'm pretty sure that it has future. I mean, definitely. But still, I don't say that it's going to substitute live events. Of course, nothing can substitute live events, but it might have a very serious future, and many events you can make in such format. In fact, many events which you cannot actually organize live. Yeah. So yeah, let's see how it goes, but I hope it will be developing more and more.
Well, just some not long time ago, you gave out a publication together with the team of DeepMind, Damis Hassabis, Ulrich Paquet, and Nenad Tomashev, and you made a research on different kind of new chess variants. But before I'm asking you, why do you think this is important, or why did you have this thought already for years that it might be interesting to look around how it would look like? I'd like to quote Damis Hassabis, the founder of and CEO of DeepMind, which post he gave out on Twitter, that fantastic to have teamed up with former world champion Vladimir Kramnik to explore interesting and creative chess variants with AlphaZero. I think there is a huge potential scope for using AI in the game design loop and for game balancing in general. So can you tell us in detail? I remember last year when you were in Budapest, you were telling me already on one of the variants, and we almost talked about it, but you said, let's wait a little bit. So the time came. And can you tell a little bit, why do you have the desire to have different chess variants?
First of all, the rules of chess were not always, chess has a very long history, were not always as they are now. Yeah. So it's a process. I think that the rules which we have now, I think it exists without adjustments for maybe like 3-4 years, 3-4 centuries, sorry. But there were lots of adjustments in the history of chess. And first of all, it was a curiosity to see, I mean, nowadays, especially with the powerful AI, that it's maybe to try maybe certain small adjustments and to see maybe that the game actually will become richer, more interesting, more entertaining, without losing any of its, magic and appeal of so to say, standard chess. So I had this idea always. Even when I was a kid, always thought that there might be some possible changes which might be interesting. Yeah, and then nowadays there is a definite trend of trying to explore, let's say, Fischer random chess, which is also a very interesting variation. And you see that more and more people who likes to play it, who likes to watch this kind of chess. And then I got this idea. For me, Fischer random is actually, it's a good variation. I have nothing against it, but it's a little bit, so to say, aesthetically disharmonial, whatever it means. But I always feel like it's a very interesting game. I really like the idea that this huge opening theory and knowledge is out, in this game. But I always I think like many spectators and even players who play this game, everybody is waiting for like move 15 to to get to a certain position which starts to remind chess, yeah, and then it becomes interesting. First moves are somehow, I don't, even for me, I'm a chess player, it's not so interesting, yeah, so somehow there is some, maybe it's a matter of habit, and maybe after many years we will get used to it, but for now it's not fully the case, and that's why I thought of this idea. So the basic idea was to have a starting position, so it's really familiar, you know, the patterns, you kind of understand what's going on in the starting position, and then to try to make certain changes there. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Fisher random, what you're saying, that usually when you get this randomized piece setup on the first rank, shuffling the pieces, I do see every game who is a serious or not even so serious chess player that immediately in the first few moves you're trying to survive, not to blunder in one move, let's say, and to get some really chess type of position.
Yeah, because you know, we are all chess players, and also, I mean, chess is not only mathematical game; it's also an art aesthetical game. Yeah, so we are used to this aesthetics. Yeah, and it's very deep in our maybe mind consciousness. Yeah, and so there is something which is lost in this chess. Although, of course, it's a very good try. I mean, of course, Fisher was a genius, and it's an extremely interesting idea. But yeah, so I wanted to try, just to try, not to replace standard chess, not to replace Fisher random, but to give people, maybe chess lovers, chess players, a few more options. And then who knows, maybe one or two of it will really be aesthetically beautiful and people will really like it. And then they can play it as, you know, as much, or, you know, as Fisher random or classical chess or whatever. So it's just some new options. And yeah, the main idea was to try to exclude this overwhelming amount of theoretical knowledge nowadays. So my conceptual idea behind it was to get chess, it's an amazing game, to its roots. Yeah, so basically the idea of chess or any logical game is to make some intellectual effort and to understand who is better in this particular game, or in general who is playing better. Yeah, and unfortunately on the top level, I'm only talking about top level, and I've played myself, so I know it well. There is this part of memorizing and computer preparation is becoming more and more important. Yeah. And I just conceptually think that it's better, I mean, that we play as long as possible. Yeah, that the game starts as early as possible, and it's about our intellectual efforts more than memory or amount of hours spent clicking, you know, and watching what computer says. Yeah, so that is why, I mean, there was these two ideas combined, and finally I've spoken with the founder of and CIO of DeepMind, Demis Hassabis, who is a big chess fan and a very serious chess player. We have even played with him at the same tournament, I think in 1992, in some junior event. So he's a very good player, I mean, kind of international master level, but then he moved to chess. He moved from chess to mathematics and everything, and he's an extremely bright person. So he achieved, yeah, I mean, everything someone can dream to achieve. But he still loves chess. And when we spoke with him, I presented this idea in general. Yeah, he liked it very much, and somehow we started to work with AlphaZero team, and it slowly but surely it finally went into this project. And yeah, so that's how it is. But our idea is, okay, we just want to offer this to the world of chess without any profit, without any idea to force anyone to do it. I mean, just as an offer. And okay, let's see. I hope people will start to play, check it, and maybe somebody will like more Fisher random. Somebody maybe will say the other variation is better. So yeah, it's a free choice of everyone.
Well, of course, this was a great match that you had different ideas how to change a little bit the rules. But of course, this is not possible without having the data and the quantity of the games. You were making tests for more than a year, if I understand it well. So let's talk about the different types of new variants. Let's start with the no castle before 10. What do you say in few words only? What is the experience with that?
Well, it's like subvariation. Yeah, I think there are a few kind of major variations which are strategically different, and this is, I would say, the subvariation of no castle in chess. Yes, so it was just a small experiment to see how it works. But that's more, the idea was this is really for professional top chess tournaments. Yeah. I mean, for anyone else, amateurs or who are playing online, for example, of course, it's simpler than to have no castle chess. So it's like a sub variation.
There is an interesting variation, stalemate equals win. What does that have to do to reality? How much would that change the score and the game itself?
As long as I remember myself playing chess, there were always people, grandmasters and amateurs who were saying that this is a way to make chess more decisive, yes, to have more decisive games. And that's why we decided to give it a try, to check how does it change the game and so on. So actually, strangely enough, it statistically doesn't seem to change much, in fact. I mean, it just changes changing the endgame theory. Actually, it doesn't make any impact on openings or middle games. Just changing the endgame theory, but it increases a bit the amount of decisive games, but very little. So again, for the endgame lovers, this can be an interesting variations. Otherwise, it's a normal chess, more or less.
Okay, so let's move on with one of the most interesting parts, I think, the pawn section. So let's start first with the semi-torpedo, which, if I understand it correctly, it means that the pawns can go 2, but not from the starting position, but only from rank 3. So if you want to play h5, you have to go h3 first, and then you're threatening to play h5. What does this have to do to enjoy the game?
Well, again, the main idea of this variation is that it looks as close as chess. I mean, but there is a totally new theory has to be developed, and this will take years and years. So it's a small adjustment to chess, which makes many things different, many pawn structures different. So it's like you're playing chess, but all this knowledge, I mean, of typical patterns plus concrete opening knowledge is out. Yeah, so you play chess and like you are back in the 17th century and you just discover the game of chess. Otherwise, that it's doesn't make a very big difference. I mean, as our idea was always that the difference is with regular chess, so to say, is as small as possible, so that people can still enjoy playing the game of chess, but they start to play from move 1 and not from move 15. You know, that was the main idea. But of course, again, it's a sub variation of the main torpedo variation, so-called.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
This is our discovery, this word torpedo.
So we still have some pawn adventures when it moves only 1 at a time, and we take away the option to play 2 by any part of the game.
Yeah, that also makes quite a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, you just so also the idea of different variations was that somehow it makes sense. So that so you take this away, this exclusion that the pawns can move 2 squares ahead on the first move. Yeah, which is actually quite strange. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a real reason why. But so we tried it, and again, the game stays the same. I mean, practically everything stays the same, but just this theory, opening theory, is out. So I think it's a very good idea if somebody wants to play. Let's say there are 2 more or less equal opponents, amateurs or club players on the internet. They want to play, but one he's studying chess quite a lot, and another one is working businessman, whatever. He doesn't have time to study opening theory. So it's like taking out this handicap of knowledge, yeah. So you just come and play normal chess, and you're in equal conditions. So I think that is the main idea of this variation, and yes, it makes the pawn structure a bit more fluid and a little bit certain new patterns, but basically yes, still the same.
Well, I guess actually the idea is that in your own territory you can play faster, but when you cross the fifth rank, let's say with white, then you are already on the enemy's territory. So there, keep the pace. But the next move is what happens when the pawn moves backwards. I mean, this goes against all the theory what we learn when we are kids, right? Not make pawn moves because
Yes.
watch it out, you're going to have weaknesses. This I had all my life. Mainly when I was a kid, I was not paying attention on any weaknesses. In your chess, of course, it was essential, and it was one of the main things that you're always paying attention on the positional aspect of the game. So this seems to be really changing upside down the whole game.
Yeah, that changed quite a lot. But again, if you look at it, it's somehow very logical. All pieces can move down, can move back. Why only pawns cannot move back? It's quite strange. And it's if you take a game of chess as a small kind of war, battlefield. I mean, you can move back sometimes, yeah. I mean, as soldiers, better to move back than to die, I mean, if you have a problem. So it makes a lot of sense. And again, I don't know why this rule appeared that the pawns cannot move back. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting. It changes the game quite seriously. It actually makes it different, but a very interesting variation. I quite like it. It becomes very fluid. Basically, most of all, I think, of those variations are always adding complicity, a little bit adding complicity objectively and subjectively. Since it's a new variation, there's a new variation, new patterns, it seriously makes it more kind of, if you want, difficult for players to play, which means more intellectual effort, because, well, and which is my goal. Yeah, so it's a very interesting variation. I quite liked it. And I think especially Judith, you would really enjoy it a lot if you say that.
Maybe one day we're gonna play
100 elo points up immediately. Maybe you will come back to professional chess then. Yeah.
Some of my weaknesses are fixed by new rules.
Yeah, in a very simple manner. Yeah.
So what about the sideway moves with the pawn? That looks really incredible, opening lines in a second. In one move, you can open any line and queen on different lines of the chessboard.
Yeah, that was actually the idea of the DeepMind team, as Torpedo as well. Other were my ideas. I mean, we were just meditating, thinking, brainstorming, yeah, what can be done. And it's very interesting. It makes chess game very, very different, extremely complicated. I mean, it adds, you can imagine mathematically, it adds an enormous amount of options. And it's a kind of almost a new game, very interesting for somebody who is searching for complexity, yes, it has to be investigated. I mean, it's maybe the only variation which of course, AlphaZero played lots of games, and I went through most of games, sometimes even analyzing some position with it. And this variation, I can tell you, I haven't understood much what's going on. I mean, it's really complicated. If everything else, I managed to build at least certain patterns a bit, yeah, to catch it. Here, you really need more time to investigate it, and to a lot of practice to understand what is going on. But it's kind of, yeah, very interesting. I mean, I saw some games of AlphaZero, very strange play, but the best moves are really, not the moves which would really cross your mind, but they're really the best moves, and we found out. So yeah, totally new field.
So let's go to the next topic, torpedo, which means taking your own piece, yeah, right?
Let's start with taking own piece. I think this is if I remember well, because I've been discussing with chess players sometimes different ideas, and I think that was proposed by Levon Aranyan once during our conversation some years ago, that this can be an interesting idea. And we started to check it. Actually, yeah, I really liked it most, just personally, subjectively, yeah, because it's extremely close to normal chess. So the idea of this variation that you have an additional option, not only to take the piece of your opponent, but also to take your own pieces. It doesn't take away anything from regular chess, but it adds, because you see that taking, actually it is a sacrifice, taking your own piece, yeah?
So let's see how it moves. For example, this position, which should be a dead draw, right? You just play bishop c8, and whatever black is doing, b takes d8. And this is quite frightening.
Yeah, I mean, many things are changing in endgames. There are a lot of beautiful new patterns, combinations. You know, for example, in Sicilian, you have rook on h1, pawn on h2. You just take rook takes h2. You open up the h line.
Well, you see, I wouldn't have to wait all my time to somehow get rid of my pawns. I just take it.
Yes, yes. So I really like this this variation, and this is quite a nice example, because there are it adds certain attacking resources, but also defensive resources, as you will see in this particular example.
Let's see the next one, which you highlighted up. It seems like black is not having such a great attack, but suddenly we're going
to normal positional game, and then all of a sudden some interesting thing starts to happen. Yeah.
You would think that white has a pawn up, but now the surprise move comes. Wow.
Yeah, rook h6, and now queen h1 mate is threatening. Yeah, what should you do? Queen f3, it's a blunder. Yeah, but now you realize when king takes f2 is possible. And then actually many more things happened in this game, and it was drawn at the end, as most of course, AlphaZero's games. But
no, this you really have to have a different mindset. You have to be careful. But in some ways, I realize that you think you get the checkmate, and then you say, oh, no, I can sneak out. But let's move on to the no castle option, because I remember last year when you were here, this was the main topic you were discussing.
Yeah, now
how does this work?
You can call it a classical chess variation out of those 9 or 10, yeah, which we made, because now it's like the old chess, yeah. It's the first one we tried. What is good about non-castle chess? Theory out, and what is important, you don't need to remember any single rule. I mean, you don't need to, it just excludes one rule, and what is also very nice, you can play it anywhere just by having a gentleman agreement before the game that you both don't castle, and you play no castle chess, even in official tournaments. So that is why we decided to start with it, and I liked it a lot also. It makes the game very dynamic. A lot of beautiful games AlphaZero played, and this is one of them.
Yeah, let's see how it can develop a game. King f1, b6, queen e2, bishop b7, rook e1. So it's kind of a natural way of developing. Normally the king should be on g1, rook on f1, but in that case the pawn wouldn't be on h4. But we see in the next move or two, bishop d2.
Yeah. It's a typical maneuver to try to make this castle. What is good about this chess that since both kings are usually not totally safe, very often there are situations when actually both players attack at the same time and counterattack, which makes the game very exciting, like this particular example.
Well, I like this move g4, as I love to play this kind of move all my life. And of course, this game was really hectic. I looked at it a few times, and I just said that I think it's better if we stop here, because we see that it is a very complicated game. It is kind of a classical chess game, we can say, but it was a huge mess in the next couple of...
And actually both kings were in danger, I mean, which is the case in quite a few games in this no castle chess.
So last but not least, let's see the taking
Torpedo variation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of torpedo variation is that the pawns can move 2 squares ahead at any moment. Yeah, not only on the first move, not only d2, d4, but also you can later on play d4, d6, and then d6, d8, queen. All, by the way, these are adjustments. All other rules are always staying the same. So every game is just one rule adjustment. Yeah, everything else is the same. And it makes the game extremely dynamic. A value of pawns is of course, increases seriously, and a lot of tactics and beautiful combinations are possible, like, for example, in this particular position, which was played in AlphaZero's game. So we can even offer everyone to, to find this move. Very beautiful combination, queen c2.
Double attack.
Yes, double attack, yeah. And as you can understand, the idea is that if bishop takes c2, then h8 queen, comes.
Oops.
Yes, and extremely dynamic play, dynamic type of chess, a lot of fun, a lot of very interesting games. We had a lot of fun with it, and it's highly recommended for players who likes combination, who likes tactical play and some beautiful sacrifices, or who are not patient enough to move pawns one square, one by one. So who wants to promote his pawn quicker,
So what about AI? Will it change the rules of chess?
It was an essential part, the AI AlphaZero's work there, because we were trying to understand the balance of each new variation, and usually it takes a few years to understand, actually, does it work, this variation? Does it make sense? Is it more or less aesthetically beautiful, or maybe one side has a big advantage, with this innovation? That's why this checking so many very interesting new variations was simply not possible before DeepMind made this AI-based chess program, AlphaZero, and now we can check very quickly every single innovation. Let's say it takes, maybe a few days maximum to be sure about to play a lot of game on the highest possible level, because AI with a new program is getting, AlphaZero is getting to a top level very quickly. And then it starts to play, and then we can more or less investigate any chess variation, and on top of it, any other games variation. I mean, it's possible to try to change certain rules to make more entertaining checkers or any other logical game. And that is a very interesting prospect, that maybe we can discover, even, so to say, AlphaZero can discover a new game which is will be as popular as chess in future, maybe even more beautiful than chess, which is hard to imagine, of course, for us. So
as the classical chess, right? Well, thank you very much for giving us an update on your ideas on new chess variants, and it was a great pleasure to have you. For the audience, I would like to highlight that they can always read more about more details and games on different articles, but on chess.com, on chess24, there were a few articles in details about this. Actually, I think there is a study of 70 pages which was shared.
Almost 100 pages, yeah. It was a serious work, yeah. I mean, it was 1 year work. But just want to add that we are preparing quite soon, I think within the next few months, or maybe even next few weeks, we are preparing certain platform where you could play any of this type of chess, yeah. And because anyway, of course, only practice, because people will tell whether they like it or not. I mean, and so I want people to vote who play this chess, who will follow it. And so we need to make a platform which will make it possible, and we are working on it. I think pretty soon you will have an opportunity to try it yourself and to see. Maybe some you would like even more than classical chess. Who knows?
Well, this is very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people are waiting, including myself, to be able to try it out. And as a finish, I had a strange idea in my mind that, of course, I would like to have a follow-up in the next year's World Global Chess Festival. But also, what about giving a simultaneous exhibition on 10 different chess variants?
Possible. I can try. I would love to. I mean, it will be more difficult than the usual simultaneous exhibition, but yeah, with pleasure.
Well, I think it is a huge challenge, but I think we'll get back to some more discussions in the future with Vladimir. And it was a great pleasure. Thanks very much for being here with us online, of course, because we cannot meet in person. But let's continue, and good luck with everything. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Judith. Always a pleasure to talk to you.